All right, my lovely friends, we have to talk. Seriously, we really do. Lot of stuff to go over here, and yeah, this is my post-market wrap-up on this Monday, December 30th, 2019. A very, very interesting day in this market. Looking at pretty much all assets across the spectrum, and I'm going to cover that here. So, look, over the weekend, these airstrikes, these U.S. airstrikes on Syria and Iraq pushed crude oil up. But if you noticed, despite the fact that crude started the day higher, crude gave back a little bit. It wasn't able to hold on to those gains. Now, that worries me. All right, that worries me. If you believe for a split second that we just bombed the Middle East, and it's over, that's number one, you're deluded. Number two, if you believe that this was not a ploy to push the price of crude oil higher and subsequently the stock market higher, which didn't work, that should scare you even more. Truly. Look, we have a very desperate situation. Now, let's start off with the repo operation that the Federal Reserve is involved in. It's not working as well as they believed it thought it would. You can tell just by looking at the short end of the yield curve. As a matter of fact, the entire yield curve today sold off, so yields went up. What does this mean? This means without vastly increasing this repo operation, which is a complete scam, one bank passing cash back and forth to another bank overnight just so they can pin the short end of the yield curve down, and again give the illusion of liquidity in this market. It's not working. It's starting to lose its ability to affect the extreme short end of the curve. So one of two things must happen. Number one, the Fed has got to get in here with these banks and, I mean, exponentially expand the repo operation, the repo scam. That's what I like to call it. With regard to the yield curve, they will not allow the debt market to sell off. Understand this, and I've covered this for years. We are going to hit a moment when the debt market sells off on its own. It's going to be unfreaking stoppable as everyone runs to the door at the same time. The Fed, what are they going to do? The Fed is going to have to crank up those printing presses, buy all the debt with cash added to a digital screen. And what's that going to do? It's going to melt down the dollar. If they don't do this, we are going to have an uncontrolled sell-off in the debt market at one point. When that happens and yields spike rapidly, how do you believe it's going to play out to the stock market? It's going to melt it down. I mean, a total meltdown will occur, greater than anyone I believe can possibly imagine. The market is so grossly and massively overvalued right now that I don't think people can get their head around it in this environment. And the main reason is no one on the planet, nobody is smart enough to know what the real price of debt would be in this environment. And because we know that the stock market is a derivative of what's occurring in the debt market, housing is a derivative as to what is happening in the debt market. Could you only imagine what the actual value of assets would be, honestly? Look, even just me trying to imagine it is pretty much, I'm blowing my mind here. So understand, so they're going to take us to the next few steps here. Bombings, increasing conflicts around the world. Again, the United States is in a constant state of war. It has been for many, many decades, and it will continue to be for many more decades to come. Now, what we witnessed over the weekend, they're already talking about more bombings, more airstrikes. Why? It's because we really got to get in there and fix things that's going to make us all safer? Or do you believe that this is a mechanism to prop up crude oil and prop up the stock market, the military-industrial complex, the banks? Of course that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. They will kill and murder millions to fulfill their end game. That's it. And their end game is almost completely fulfilled. The middle class is nearly extinct here in the United States and on a global level as well. So understanding these things, we know what's going to happen before it does. You can expect more bombings, more airstrikes, more escalation of war. War generates more cash flow for the military-industrial complex as a whole than any other endeavor on earth that you can possibly imagine. So, knowing this, you understand why the United States is in a constant state of war. Why you will see more of what we witnessed over the weekend. This is how it plays out, period. This is the end game, all right? Now, what we also understand is just gauging from, again, metals did nothing today. They started out lower. They actually caught a bid. They ended up lower. Cryptocurrencies under pressure. This is a game. It's not real. There's no price discovery mechanism here whatsoever. There's no price discovery mechanism in the stock market either. All it is being propped up by jawboning. We heard today again, and I got a nice snapshot of it, and I posted it on my social networks. A deal signing looks like it's going to happen next week, people. It didn't help to push the stock market up, although it did cut the losses in half at one point. But the market closed pretty much near the low. At the low, the Dow was down about 208 or so. I think we finished down about 190. So pretty much at the low. But we cut those losses in half at one point on the promise that a deal was going to be signed soon. Soon, next week. Let's see how that plays out. And, you know, we have you noticed that we haven't heard anything about what's in this deal? We know it's a deal, right? We know there's a deal because the president says so, and Kudlow says so, and a couple of other freaks are saying so. There's a deal. But what's in it remains a mystery to me. I'm sure to you as well. But it's going to get signed. The mystery deal, whatever's in it, is going to get signed next week, possibly. Again, they're stringing this along. It's a game. It's propaganda. Whether it happens or not, we'll see. And if it does happen, will we actually be able to see what's in the deal? I don't know. Probably not. It's a joke, like everything else connected to this freaky market. So anyway, that's where we are today. It frightens me, and it should frighten you, that the airstrikes over the weekend had a limited effect with regard to the propping up of crude oil, which I know for a fact is going up. So if I know that for a fact, what do we think is going to drive it higher? Let's see. Yeah, exactly. And we are going to hear more rhetoric out of Middle Eastern countries now that are all up in arms that we just bombed that living hell out of them. Yeah, they're all pissed off too. This instability in the Middle East is, again, part of the ploy, part of the veil over your eyes to push crude higher. Crude is, people, is. Get this through your head here and now. The lifeblood of the military-industrial complex. The investments that banks have in crude oil and in energy is truly staggering. And it's all leveraged. These are leveraged bets. All right. So you tell me, do you believe these institutions are going to be allowed to take a single loss, even a dollar? No, because even if they do, you're going to bail them out, just like you did last time and just like you did recently with the recapitalization of the banks, which got virtually no coverage. But yeah, you bailed out the banks again. Oh, yeah. You're not supposed to know about that. No. Shh. Let's keep that between you and me. And the whole QE that's going on right now, you can't call it QE. you're not supposed to know about that either. So between you and me, we're going to keep it quiet. Very quiet. Quiet. You got it? All right, look, I think you know pretty much exactly how this will play out moving forward. People, look, I can't say these things enough to you. We are existing in an environment that we have never, ever witnessed before. This is unlike anything we've ever seen. Corruption, distortions, look here, don't look here, propaganda like you cannot believe. And again, the one similarity that we have is when we have a market that's, I mean, there's nothing to compare this to, that is overvalued as we have now, you hear the same stories. The stock market is doing phenomenal because our economy is strong. The consumer is strong. Meanwhile, they will not tell you that the consumer today is carrying a higher debt load than they have ever carried in history. 1 in 5 American citizens are borrowing from their credit cards just to make ends meet. The middle class is being eliminated. These fake numbers about unemployment at record lows is a lie. Look up the labor force participation rate. It's lower today than during the Great Recession. You can't know that either. So keep that as well between you and me. It's unbelievable what information is out there that's readily available that anyone can look up, but they don't. They, again, it's the cults. It's the Republican cult and the Democratic cult. The divide and conquer mechanism, that how they can control the masses. Something that's been going on since time literally immemorial. But anyway, this should scare you people. It scares me. More death, more suffering on an industrial scale is coming, and coming soon. And the only reason is to prop up crude oil and to prop up the stock market as our economy here in the United States continues to free fall. The service sector continues to free fall. The manufacturing sector clearly in a deep recession. We're not making things. We're not exporting anything anymore. The trade deficits, the trade gap, trillion-dollar deficits here in the United States. Sounds like a booming economy to you? Yeah. If you want to listen to a guy with a very strange complexion, a little overweight with a comb over, well, then I guess you're listening to the right person. But if you listen to a guy like myself, and I'm not the only one out here, trying to lay this out for you, the facts, what they are, and they're verifiable, all right? So, again, look, a long video, I think very important. Please share it. Please get it out there. I'll see you in the morning. I'm out of here.